All right. Well, hello, everybody. I see a bunch of people joining already. Yeah, this is really exciting. So, this is my first ever live interview for the Save Just Draft podcast. I'm here, of course, with Tom Schecter, who was my guest on episode 52 of the show back in January of this year. And so I've brought him back, and Tom suggested doing this live format, so we're giving it a shot, and I'm really excited to dive in. We're going to be talking about his, of course, ongoing series, the Shieldbreaker saga. I, of course, have the first book here, but book two is out now, and we'll be talking about that as well during the
Well,
interview.
looks
There's
like
that
that.
gorgeous cover. Yep.
Hi guys, how are you? Good to see those of you I haven't met before. Good to meet you. Great to be here. Thank you, Bradley. Uh, what a privilege, man. What a fun way to spend a Tuesday evening.
Absolutely. I love it. I'm so excited to get into this here. So, yeah, welcome back to the show. Like I said, second time you've been on the show here. First ever live interview, like I said. As we get into it here, too, for everyone who's already joined and watching, please feel free to share any questions that you have for Tom in the chat. I will work them in during the interview or perhaps save them for the end. We're going to kind of play it by ear, but we want to hear from you. So please drop your messages in the chat, any questions you have as we get into it here. But Tom, let's start off by having you kind of tell us a little bit about yourself and your creative journey thus far for those who aren't already aware of you.
Okay, I am Tom Schecter. This is the first thing that I've written with any seriousness since like junior year of undergrad. Uh, I really enjoy it, and it took about 15 years for me to get it into any kind of shape to show anybody, and so it's been a very, very silly process. And also, now coming around on having two books out with my name on it's been, it's really rewarding now, and started off very silly, and it's okay that it started off silly because we're having a great time now. um the the Shieldbreaker saga itself is kind of a noir literary fantasy about societal change, about the end of a cycle of civilization, an end of an era,
Mhm.
and what do you do when your way of life is being threatened? And so, you know, the most important thing is apparently the jokes work. The-
Absolutely, absolutely. And if I'm not mistaken, too, the Shieldbreaker saga, you yourself are very knowledgeable about real world history and stuff like that.
Mhm.
So the story here, it's a very I think a good way of describing it would be like a grounded sort of fantasy.
Yeah,
So
that's
yeah,
about.
would you mind telling us a little bit more about kind of like where it fits into the fantasy genre?
Uh, well, there's no magic to speak of,
Mm-hmm.
so already it is in the piece of the fantasy genre.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it is based very, very intentionally on a period of history that I didn't think anybody in the genre was writing about. Uh, the collapse of the Eastern Roman and Persian empires in the 7th century and the rise of Islam out of that power vacuum has
Mm-hmm.
been like a really, really big inspiration. And yeah, there's other, there's other eras and other cultures kind of mixed in, and I didn't want it to be any one particular piece of history because I wanted this more along the lines of just this is a new world. And I think that's really where it is still fantasy, is that this is not a world that we live in. It's not a world that exists, some sort of alternate reality, but it looks and feels and the rules operate very similarly to ours.
Mm-hmm. Right, right, right. Absolutely. Yeah, and I'd love to ask a question from the chat actually right now, from Sarah SMR, who asks, "What encouraged you to write your book?" I know you said it was like 15 years, this process. So, what started that?
Yeah, Sarah, that's a really good question. And I really, really wish I had a better answer, and I'm not 100% sure I remember. Um, I absolutely never, from like high school, never got the image of Banquo or Banquo's ghost grinning at Macbeth over a dinner table, and Macbeth losing his shit. I never got that out of my head and thought to myself, man, it would be really cool if I could do something where the ghost made more of an impact. And I knew that I wanted my main character to have this specter
Mm.
messing with him
Mhm.
before I even knew what the main character's name was going to be, and before I really even knew what the rest of the story was going to be. I started out there. I thought, wow, wouldn't it be cool? This is as close to here's a cool idea at the end as I'm ever going to get. As wow, wouldn't it be cool if there was this guy who had to help his people survive, and he was absolutely fucking crazy.
Right.
Either actually haunted by the ghost of his dead brother or just hallucinating the living shit out of anything. And you got to ask yourself, either way, is this going to end well?
Mm.
And that was kind of the challenge that I set for myself years and years and years ago. And then I realized I didn't know what to do next for a good long time.
Mhm, mhm. Absolutely, absolutely. Sarah says, "Sometimes not knowing the answer is the best answer to get. I love your answer and the thought you put into it. Thank you, Tom." So
Thank you,
wanted to share that
Sarah.
feedback. That's great.
Thanks so much for asking. I'm really, really glad you chimed in.
Yeah, that's a fantastic question. So before we dive into the Shieldbreaker saga in more detail, wanted to give you a chance to kind of just tell everybody about your Substack publication. Obviously, Shieldbreaker is a big part of it. But
Mhm.
yeah, if you want to give everybody just kind of an overview of what you do here on Substack and why they should subscribe.
Well, yeah. I before I put anything in print, instead of the ARC process that a lot of people go to, I decided 2 years ago because I didn't know anything about anything. What if I just released a chapter every couple of weeks and saw what people thought of it?
Hmm.
So I'm going to keep doing that. I
Mm-hmm.
think every time I finish a book, I will announce that it will be coming to Substack first. Uh, in between those, I'm probably going to uh, do live reads of each of the chapters,
Mm-hmm.
uh, after the release date, just to have a little bit more fun and a little bit more content out there. And in uh, the really not quite on brand, but I think brand doesn't really matter to me here. The other thing that I use this publication for is to spearhead fiction as culture.
Mm-hmm.
I am the mouthpiece of a bunch of community minded fiction writers on here who want to uh, make themselves available to help uh, our fellow authors in times of emergency. And, we were able to run a few initiatives last year that saved people from losing a home, that saved people from running out of food when SNAP benefits went to hell during the shutdown.
Mm-hmm.
Like we want to make sure that we as artists are actually in position to not necessarily just ask for donations, but we want is to help our fellow artists in their times of need sell their art, sell their writing, sell other skills that they have if they want to, so that it's not just about this is not charity. We don't have we don't have the infrastructure for charity, but we do have the infrastructure to shout about somebody who's good at something and encourage our uh, encourage our larger circle to buy their work. And that seems to have done us a pretty decent turn over the last year and a half, and we're excited to keep going with that. So that is the other piece of the Shieldbreaker saga. Is it just it hosts those initiatives as well as it gives, honestly, it's more fun than just me talking about myself all the time. I would get very, very tired of that very quickly. And
Mm-hmm.
I want to I'm here with all of you. I've become a better writer in the last 2 years because I'm here with all of you. At the
Yeah.
very least I could do is try to pay some sort of, you know, kindness forward when
Mm.
that's an option. So,
Mhm,
yeah.
mhm. Yeah, no, absolutely, and I'm really glad that you described it that way because I feel the same way about the community here and
Yeah.
about giving back. And that
This
was
is
something
an
we talked
important
about in
thing
your
we got
first.
going on.
Yeah, that was something we talked about in your first interview too. Was just how much I respect what you do as part of this community and for the broader community. So,
Thank-
and also have to say, Tamsin G also said she loves that as you were describing what you do there. So, yeah, definitely a lot of support for that, and like I said, I admire it very very much.
I really
Um,
appreciate all of you.
mhm. So for my next question here, yeah, earlier this month, if I'm not mistaken, is when you
Yeah.
released book 2 of the Shieldbreaker saga.
Yeah. Sure.
Um,
Should I show it again?
go ahead,
I'm
yeah.
going to show it again. It's
Yeah,
blue.
there it is, book
Very.
2, and then I will go ahead and flash up book 1 again here.
Oh, yeah.
So you can see the covers
This
there.
whole thing.
Yeah. Yeah, no, oh, it's so good. So, something I'll plug real quick too for everybody watching is that, somewhere near the end of the month here, I'm gonna be publishing a full review of the first book in the Shieldbreaker saga on the writer's journey, so keep an eye out for that. But I can say right now, I'm already over halfway through it. I am loving it. I am loving
Uh,
it. It is fantastic. So it's gonna be a recommend for me. But,
I'll take it
for my
happily.
for my next question here, yeah, I was curious, how has the launch of the second book gone, thus far? And for everybody watching, where are the different places they can get a copy?
Okay, so again, last year didn't know anything. Uh, Loved every part of just having the community jump up. I think it was really incredibly gratifying that the people uh, surrounding me who had read pieces of it or read the whole thing already were very, very quickly into, yes, buy this, sharing it around. And I did obviously a lot of that work myself as well. And I had a 1 year old at the time, which means if I'm doing my math correctly, I now have a 2 year old. And that means we get a little tiny bit less like free time on the hands, fewer free seconds here or there before I have to make sure he's not breaking everything.
Right.
Uh, and so the launch has gone fine. Uh, it has been a little bit less all consuming, family things pop up and life happens, and that is normal, and all of that is cool. And we've still, managed to move some units, and I'm excited to hopefully move some more when we go up to my first convention in a couple of weeks up in
Mhm.
Boston, ReaderCon, which I will be excited to say more about later. But launch is going good. I'm obviously thrilled with the early response. I was thrilled with the early response when I did the chapter releases at the beginning of the year. Uh, I think, again, I'm still learning on all of this, and I
Mhm.
wonder if maybe I should go back to releasing chapters at lunch on Wednesday when people are in the office as opposed to trying to do 10 or 11 a.m. Sunday morning. Although I
Mm.
really did enjoy the idea of Sean Connery introducing Shieldbreaker Sunday, but it might not have played quite as well for the algorithm.
Mm.
So we'll see. I gotta, go back to the drawing board a little bit on that for next time. But all in all, uh, shit, man, I'm just really genuinely happy to have found these people who are interested enough in reading this stuff that, and especially the talent level and the skill level of those people.
Mhm.
If they're saying they like this, I feel like that is, the psychic boost of that is like, damn, okay, cool. I'm on to something here.
Mhm.
And whatever happens numbers wise, shit, man, we're all indie authors. We know we're not trying to move gigantic numbers of books without some sort of lightning catching, and that's fine. Uh, Process is more important here than outcome. I just want to keep putting myself out there and keep hopefully making sure that my jokes don't alienate too many people or make anybody cringe to death. And we'll see what happens.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I love that. I love that. And one thing I'll say too is that from my experience, I would agree that weekends, especially Sundays, tend to be a bit slower, just in
Yeah.
general on Substack. So
Yeah.
as much as I love the Sean Connery connection there,
Right?
yeah,
It was such a good idea.
it
It
was,
was
it was,
it was like or at least it was a good bit. Um,
right.
and sometimes I mix up those two in my head. It
Yep.
it was a great bit. Not sure we're continuing with it for next year.
It was worth it for the bit. I mean,
That,
I'm totally
yeah.
here for the
Hmm.
bit. Also, I wanted to mention from the chat, Emily S. Hurricane just now had said that both your covers are beautiful, is how she
Oh,
describes
thank
them.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah, Hurricane is also an incredibly important part of my support here.
Mm,
Besides being a fantastic author in her own right, Hurricane has also been uh, selfless with her time in terms of helping me create the ebooks
mm,
of these books. The one thing the one piece of the question I really definitely probably should actually answer. Uh, there are two and only two places to get Shieldbreaker
mm,
novels right now.
mhm,
Uh, for paperback, we go to books.buy. Shieldbreaker hyphen saga. I will, I'll put it on. We'll put it underneath when we post this to Substack. We'll just put it underneath.
Yep.
And the the ebooks are available exclusively at Jay Curtis's new joint, gimmebook.com/Shieldbreaker saga.
Okay.
Very, very happy to be working with another guy who is community minded, who is, you know, he's put together 2 incredible anthologies of Substack authors for the Midnight Vault. He is obviously one of ours.
Mm-hmm.
And it is a privilege to be able to be an early adopter on this new app. I think it's going to be very, very cool for a lot of us. And yeah, I want to put my money where my mouth is in terms of making sure this is about us. Everybody wins if a few of us win.
Mm.
And it also allows me to not have to give any of my money to Jeff Bezos. And I
That's
will
a
take
win.
that. That's
Yeah.
that's another win.
That's a win.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. Okay, great.
either
Yeah, yeah.
book.buy or gimme book. Those are the 2.
Okay.
And I don't expect that to change anytime soon.
Okay. Excellent. Excellent. That's awesome. Yeah. And when this recording's posted and when this interview is included in the podcast this week, of course, as well as audio, we will make sure to have links to purchase, of course, the copy of the second book in the show notes and the first book too,
Appreciate
if you need to catch up.
Yeah, definitely gotta get them both, man. If you're gonna do it, get them both.
Got to go all in. Yeah, I agree. So yeah, my next question here. I wanted to kind of talk about where things stand within the world of the story at the start of book 2 here. Now, I know that this question may require some spoilers from book 1,
Okay.
so I'll
Yeah.
let you use your discretion there. But yeah, I'd love if you could set the stage, like where the world and where the story and the characters are, right as we start with book 2. What's going on there?
All right. So where we left everybody was on top of a horrifying blood-stained mountain, uh, in the middle of a battle for their survival. Kareva, my protagonist, his first act as the new chieftain of his tribe was to absolutely murder the shit out of an ambassador sent to demand his surrender.
Mm-hmm.
Wherein we found out that Kareva was in fact being haunted by the specter of his dead older brother, who was supposed to be in charge. Kareva, again, not well, not super, not like the most healthy fellow mentally.
Right. Right.
And of course, this is set in an analogous world to 7th century Middle East, and therefore, they haven't invented psychotherapy yet.
Mm.
There's not much to talking out to be done here.
Right.
So he had to get all of his civilians out of their desert fortress and basically have them run across the desert to try to find safety in a very, very large, pretty impenetrable ancient city-state that is independent, while he and the rest of the men went out to basically die to buy them time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Such is life at the end of the world. And, well, shit, it is hard for me to do this without really burying the lead here. But you're only halfway done with the book. I feel terrible for what I'm about to do to you.
I'm going to read it regardless. I'm letting you know right now.
They fight this gigantic horde to a standstill, at which point the warlord of the Northerners, the Poyor, offers him his life again in exchange for serving him, and guarantees the safety of his civilians. The problem with that guarantee is that a few chapters earlier, he had already ordered them all exterminated. And as he and Kareva are negotiating this honorable, not surrender, but new, rather one-sided alliance, a bunch of his guys are in the desert chasing down the Attila civilians that are trying to run away.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So that's where we left book 1, and book 2 drops us right back there to the battlefield in the aftermath. The first thing we see is a guy looking for a dead friend among the piles of bodies. And if book 1 is about who do you want to be at the end of the world, how do you get yourself a good death, book 2 is all about the survivors and about the guilt and the grief and the pain of living through that and then having to figure out how to go next, what to do next.
Wow. Wow. Yeah. 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 That's amazing. That's amazing. Yeah. One thing I was going to say too with the first book that I love, and it sounds like the second book continues this, is that there's there's just an amazing sense of world building in place right off the bat, but there's also that tension and that looming kind of danger that's always hanging over the characters' heads as we're building up, you know. And the way you set the stage for that, and then keep that tension going and kind of ramp it up as time goes on. I mean, I love that.
Awesome.
Um, it's really, really cool stuff. It's one of my favorite elements of the book. I have a lot of favorite elements, so that's one of them. Um, but yeah, I wanted to take another question from the chat here. Hallie the Moonlight Bard asks, Tom, who or what in your life inspired Kivli?
Ah, yes, Kivli. Hallie and Kivli. Hallie loves her some Kivli. Kivli is not in the first book
Okay.
except as uh, a famous uh, a famous dead activist from a prequel, The Daughters of A, which is still available for free exclusively on Substack and will be
Mm,
until I print it.
mm.
That's generally the way it is. Kivli, how did I come up with Kivli, man? Kivli started out as simply just a one or two sentence throwaway because there had to be some crazy person who started the massive, catastrophic rebellion that, lives in the shadow underneath that ended in Kareva's older brother getting got,
Mm,
that left him in charge and that has put all of his people even more at risk than they already were. And once I got there, I didn't really feel like I wanted to leave it there. And I wanted to give her maybe not necessarily credit or not necessarily grace, but like I wanted to give her brain at least a chance to show its side of the story.
mhm,
I borrowed liberally from the first episode of Vikings.
mm,
Uh, Kivli's introduction in Daughters of Vay. Uh, she has suffered a massive head wound on a battlefield, and she sees uh, messengers of their goddess, Vay, the goddess of blood, taking warriors home, basically a Valkyries type thing. And
mm,
I definitely, absolutely was, I will say, was inspired by, but liberally borrowed from the very, very first time we meet Ragnar Lothbrok in
mm,
Vikings,
mhm,
where he's on a battlefield and he sees Odin's raven, and then he sees the Valkyries taking dead. The dead warriors on both sides back up to Valhalla. Absolutely, that's in there, and that's like Kivli is the most, you know, obviously Viking berserker type character I've ever come up with. And I needed to give her more than that. And it was really, really fun writing that novella kind of on a whim.
mhm,
Uh, Swear to God, that was a Wattpad contest gone horribly wrong for Wattpad and, turned out pretty good for me. The
mhm,
fact that they did not like it very much,
mm,
but it worked out pretty good for the people that were already reading me on here. And, yeah, so I've got a couple other novellas that I want to put together to give the world a little bit more nuance, at least the before times world, a little bit more nuance before I get too far into the story that I'm actually telling of
mhm,
Kareva, and want to understand, want Kareva to be of his time, and therefore I need to explain what that means.
mhm, mhm. Right, that makes sense. Okay, yeah. Yeah, so speaking of, like, the world building and stuff, next up, I wanted to talk a bit about how the world came together. So, like, for example, at the beginning of our conversation, you talked about
Mhm.
how, like, this is a fantasy that doesn't utilize magic, for example. That's like a hard and fast rule. So, I'm curious, like, what is your world building process when you kinda started writing this? Did you start by building the world? And if so, like, how did you come to that conclusion where you wanted these kind of specific, characteristics within this world?
Well, this is my favorite part because this is about how little I knew when I started the process. Because the
Mhm.
very, very first thing that I did was, okay, there's warriors coming down from the north. Um, and I think there's something going on in the east and in the west. I don't know why they're here. I don't know what they're doing here. I don't know why they were enemies. I don't know why this city exists. I don't know
Mhm,
what any
mhm,
of it was. Actually, like, this was the thing. It actually was probably more of a fantasy saga, or had the idea to be more of a fantasy saga, even without necessarily using magic at first, because I didn't have any actual, like, didn't have anything logical making sense to ground it.
mm,
Uh, the reason that it took me so long to get book one in order was because the world building was so nothing.
mm,
Uh, and not even that it was nothing, it was just that it was like there was nobody had any motivation to do anything.
mhm, mhm.
Nobody had any motivation. Yeah,
Right.
Hallie knows. Hallie knows. Nobody had any motivation to actually be there. Didn't have any clue why anybody was doing any of the things they were doing. It was just a bunch of dudes running around, getting revenge on each other for stuff. And nobody could tell me, and I couldn't tell anybody where the stuff had begun.
Mm.
And so that's why I threw the thing away as utter complete garbage and put it in a drawer for 10 years. Uh,
Okay.
what happened is during the pandemic, I had a bunch of extra time on my hands and got to read a lot of history, which is where the actual, the reason why it doesn't feel like the world has to be built, or that it doesn't have to be like explained. So it is mostly it's based enough on our world that we don't really have to, like, I don't have to give you the every single bloodline of every single emperor, every single, like, no, let's not bother with that. We know what's happening here.
Mhm,
And the way I was able to get that was by reading a bunch of history, by reading about what happened at the end of the Roman Empire and slightly after it, the Justinian reconquest, and then the long, very stupid, very long Persian Roman wars at the end of the 6th century, beginning of the 7th century, that left both of those empires in such ruin that they both promptly collapsed
mm,
when it was over.
mhm,
And at that exact moment is when Muhammad and company came out of Mecca and Medina.
mm, mhm,
It was very, very easy for them to take that region, and it wouldn't have been, except for that the two empires that had been in charge of the thing for the last God knows how many hundreds of years had just fought each other not to a standstill, but to literal mutual destruction.
mm, mhm,
So
mhm.
there's nothing left. And that was the thing that hit me was, oh, fuck, it's got to be a power vacuum.
Mm, right, right.
You don't have a Western empire and an Eastern empire. What you have is shambles that
Mm,
used to be a Western empire and an Eastern empire. And then you can start actually seeing where this goes. And
mhm,
from there, it became actually kind of, oh, hello, sorry. That's the one thing about doing it live is sometimes people knock their phones over. Then it became really easy to build the thing and build the tension, is because literally everything that any of these characters do could spell doom for them and their people very, very easily.
mm,
If you
mhm,
don't hold the right flank in this battle, it's not just your guys and your buddies who are going to get killed. That's it. We done.
mhm, mhm.
So, yeah, I mean, I had to build stakes.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Absolutely, absolutely. So, yeah, you brought this up too during your answer just now. My next question is, I wanted to ask you about the complexity of the world. So, like, for example, um, your camera's off there. Okay.
Can you still hear me? Can you
Yes,
still hear me?
I can still hear you. Yep, yep, yep.
Okay. Sorry about that. Little
No, it's
technical
okay. It's like
difficulty
you said.
never hurt anybody.
It's like you said, doing it
Sorry.
live. Yep.
Continue. Sorry. Let's doing it
So yeah,
live. Please,
I'll
please ask that one again.
yeah, of course. I'll start from the beginning. So, yeah,
Yeah.
during your last answer, you mentioned, for example, that readers don't necessarily need to know the entire family line of a certain character or family
Mm,
lineage. But my question here is, despite not describing that in the story, you have a lot of complexity here. You have a lot of characters, a lot of like you said, power dynamics, motivations, and stuff like that, and kind of tension and everything. So when you were doing the world building here, I was wondering, like, do you yourself, like, outside of anything everybody else can see, do you yourself have, like documents, for example, where you have like this, full history of the world, or does it kind of live in your head? I'm curious.
mostly, mostly in my head.
Okay.
Um, which is good because I'm gonna keep having to make up a bunch of shit as I go along. Um, I know what the end point is
Mm-hmm.
for the series. a dozen books from now,
Oh,
and
wow, okay.
therefore I kind of have an ability to work, a little bit of reverse engineering to make sure that the things that happen have to happen at a certain point. And because of the way I've decided to write it, where it's all kind of subjective. Every single person has their POV, and I'm not doing any sort of, and then this happened. It's
Mm,
just like everybody gets to react to events as they see it, which allows them to have their motivations and actually act on their motivations and use those motivations to drive the story forward instead of just leaving it as, and then this has to happen. And then, you know, I think that would have been the trickiest part about adding magic to this, honestly, is I really didn't want to have this be another, and then this happened, and then everyone was saved. Like, we got more work to do than that.
mhm, mhm,
Um, and I obviously have plenty of work to do on all of these things the entire time. But yeah, I mean, there are, I wouldn't call it entire documents. There are definitely notes, that there are definitely some guiding like principles, and most of it is how do the different religions work, not who did what and who did what and who did what. I do not have, you know, the history of all the kings in any way, shape, or form. I mostly have how does the system work? And if the system works, then it doesn't really matter who the dudes are as much in that particular situation. Um, and it means that I can kind of play
mhm,
around with um, how people would react to a larger system of how would the Atala have worked in their prime?
mhm,
Like, it took me until I was 90% of the way through writing book one before it actually hit me. Oh, they were mercenaries the whole time. Okay, yeah, duh. Of course they were. I should have known that the whole time. And that's fine. I'm okay with flying by the seat of my pants on the backstory as long as once I know that it's the backstory, I'm going to stay faithful to the things that I figure out. I will keep figuring them out as we go along, and it will play out the way it plays out.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, yeah, you kind of answered my next question already, but I was kind of curious. So, your actual writing process, you mentioned you have like a dozen books planned at one point just now,
At
which is
least.
yeah, which is awesome. And you obviously said you know the end
Secret.
point as well. But when you're actually writing the books, are you more of like the traditional sort of plotter where you have like an outline you work with, or is it more just like a pantser, like as they say, where you're kind of like you know where it's going, you're sort of letting it lead you.
I huh, I guess I'm plotter. I think if I have to, I'll admit it. I think the outline that I will build before I actually write even a word of final draft is going to be scene by scene, person's reaction to thing by reaction. It's not, and again, I think that the major difference is I don't want to call it just a plotter because my priority is not about and then this happens. It's here is how this person's feeling about blah 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 is going to lead him to do this, and then from there.
Hmm.
I think it's more important to me to be able to understand how the people are going to work. It's more about the characters. I think it's more a character study even than it is an epic. And it's going to be, it's going to be that long. It's going to end up being an epic, and there are going to be some big ass battles. And there are going to be some more plot twists and some more political intrigue. And even just in book two, I'm very, very excited for you to get through book two and,
Hmm.
and freak out a little bit, hopefully.
Yeah.
Um, but it's more about the people than it's more about the people and how they're reacting to what's happening around them,
Mm.
including to Kareva's very, very questionable sanity, than it is about any particular one major story.
Okay. Right, right. That makes sense. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Especially like you said with the scope of the series, how long
Mhm.
it's meant to go on for. Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, cuz as a writer, as I'm reading the book, I'm thinking, how does he keep track of all of like, these like just like the sheer scope of it, the complexities like I
Um,
said.
that
Um
don't worry too much. That's just because I read The Idiot when I was in seventh grade. Oh, okay. I guess I'm going to be this guy now. Um, Sometimes you're just that guy. Uh, it's one too many or 20 too many Russian novels, and just being used to it.
Mhm. Right, 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 right. Yeah. No, I mean, it works. Trust me, it works. I mean, I'm fully engrossed. I was just it's impressive,
That
like how many moving
and
pieces you
also,
have.
yeah, it's also
Yeah.
tricky.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And speaking of the complexity too, my next question here, I wanted to ask because something that's really unique about the first book here, and I imagine it's the same with the second book, is that you tend to switch POVs within chapters. You know, like for example, other books that I've read, every chapter will be like a single POV and it'll switch between chapters. But you yourself, you'll have that transition happen just over the course of a chapter. It'll happen, once or multiple times. So I'm curious, like, what inspired that structure specifically?
Honestly, television.
Okay.
Uh, I think there's a bunch of things to be learned from, you know, I mean, obviously, yeah, literature. I'm not the first person to do this in literature. I think one of my favorite scenes of any book ever, in The Godfather by Mario Puzo, the original,
Mm,
and this doesn't really translate to the film, and it's part of the reason why I still, after all these years, and yeah, I mean, yeah, the movies were fucking brilliant, but I still prefer the novel just ever so slightly,
mhm,
and it's because and this is the example that I used. I think I used this example at some point when I was talking about why I made the stylistic choices that I made, and also why I like the I guess the mechanism of how I'm changing points of view. Um, the moment in The Godfather where Sonny comes to beat the shit out of Carlo Rizzi for beating up his little sister, Carlo's wife. In the book, that's told from the perspective of one of Carlo's employees
mm,
who is already exasperated by what a dumb, stupid piece of shit Carlo is as a boss and basically bored of having to manage him upward every day.
mhm,
And then he sees Sonny's car coming, and you get to see this whole thing happen from his perspective of, oh, shit. Um, and then you switch to Carlo, uh, you know, ducking and covering because he knows that's the only way he gets out of it. And in the movie, it's just okay. You're sitting there, you see the stoop, you hear the car screech out, and you see Sonny get out, and you see the beatdown, and it's not badly done in any way, shape, or form. But like, I really, really liked that tertiary character saying, "What the fuck is this about?" Sort
mm,
of. Uh,
mhm, mhm.
and I thought to myself when I was, the first time I wrote my first draft of the first chapter, and it's just Kareva getting mad and then stabbing the guy a whole bunch of times.
Right, right.
Felt thin. It just felt like it would be more fun to see Alakuts and
Mm,
see his wheels turning while Kareva is below him, stabbing this guy
mm,
somewhere between 12 and 3,000 times. It would be more interesting to see just it, and it felt to me, and this is where my favorite show of all time, Deadwood, comes in, because you
mm.
can see
Yeah.
like the cuts from one face to the next face to the next face, and all I'm like, oh no, what's about to happen? Oh shit. Those oh shit cuts are really
Right.
um you want to know a little bit more about what they're thinking.
Mm, mhm, mhm.
At least if you're me, and this is, 50, 60 watches in at this point, you kind of I want that extra second and a half with each character to kind of sense what the oh shit is conveying.
Mhm, mhm,
What they're thinking about. Are they thinking about the consequences of what's going to happen? Are they thinking about um, what this means for them personally? Are they thinking about what this means in a larger sense for the camp personally? And you don't know because all you get is they're snap, 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 second and a half here or there. And it's not bad. Again, it's effective, but like that is I want this to be about people. I don't want this to just be the Kareva show.
mhm. Right,
I think
right.
um that's really what it is. The motivation is just because we got a lot of very, very good, very well done, um, epic stories about the main character doing the stuff.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah,
And
yeah.
I wanted more people around watching him do the stuff and reacting to and thinking about and strategizing based off of and emoting based off of him doing the thing.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
thought that would be more.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, that's a fantastic answer. I really love kind of the examples you provided there. And one thing I'll say too is that a byproduct of this structure, in addition to everything you described just now, for me as the reader, that I've noticed is that it makes for exceptional pacing. Like things move really quick, and when you're getting those nice like POV switches, it just kind of adds another sort of momentum to the pacing of the chapter. And another thing that I would say too is that the chapters feel very rich as a result. Like you're getting a lot of different information in a good way. It's not too much or anything,
Yeah,
but
that's
it's,
what I'm hoping for, because
yeah.
I see all of these chapters as kind of an episode of
Mhm.
television.
Okay.
Just Tamsin just wrote an awesome question that I do want to get.
I was gonna ask that next. Yeah.
Yeah, please go for it. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'll read it out here. So yeah, Tamsin G asked, has Substack changed the way you write? Which I think is a fantastic question. Yeah.
absolutely. I think by osmosis more than anything else. I had really only read what I had read when
Mhm.
I got up here,
Mhm.
and I was very happy with that first 10 chapters, and I, wouldn't have changed anything about it. But I think reading back on reading back through book one and then reading book two again, I can sort of sense where um I've expanded, I think, the tool belt a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, the the main mechanism of those shifting points of view isn't going anywhere, and the story is still the story I want to tell. But it definitely has let me, um, the again, the ability level on here has challenged me to stretch.
Mm, mhm.
There's a long ass dream sequence that never in a million years would I have come up with outside
Mm.
of hanging out with you all for
Right, right.
the final scene. The final scene absolutely needed to be the final scene of book two is the hardest I've ever had to work to make a thing hit the way it's supposed to hit.
Mm.
And yeah, I mean, this is it's the only thing I've ever worked with an editor on, and it was it was Emil Ottoman, of course it was, crazy bastard that he is. He took the thing from being 85% of the way there to being a really, really serious fucking gut punch.
Mm.
Uh, it would not have hit the same, and it was again, it's a scene that needed to be, you know, it's a scene that needed to be perfect. It is a scene that is the fulcrum for probably the rest of the series.
Right, right.
It's the scene that you know it's like trying to shoot at a moving target from 100 miles away, and the target is the size of a fucking thimble. I needed it to be inch perfect, and I didn't quite have the 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 technique.
Mhm.
And looking at what it looked like a year ago when I had first written it, thought, oh yeah, that's really cool. To what it looks like now,
Mm.
that first one is cute, and this one now does the job.
Wow, wow, wow,
So
wow.
yeah, Substack is, you know, the fiction community on Substack, the literary fiction community, the fantasy community, absolutely directly responsible. I have become a better writer because of hanging out with you knuckleheads for 2 years. And again,
Mhm.
yeah, thank you all enough for that.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I have to. I mean, I've only been here about a year and a half myself, but I wholeheartedly agree. I can also see the growth of my writing just from reading other people's work.
Ah,
Feedback,
yeah,
comments. Like,
Moses,
yeah,
I'm not taking classes on this. I am reading. Uh, I'm reading and being pushed.
yeah, yeah.
And
It's
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 amazing.
so cool.
Really gratifying.
Yeah, 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 yeah. There's nothing else quite like it. It's such an amazing experience being on here in this community here. It's just amazing. So yeah, excellent question from Tamsin. Thank you again. That was a wonderful question. And a quick reminder too, for anybody who's joined just in the last, few minutes here, please, feel free to drop questions in the chat. We'll work them into the conversation where it makes sense.
Absolutely, we will.
Yeah, but we want to take advantage of the fact that it's alive. So please, if you have any thoughts as we're discussing here, we definitely want to work in your questions. But I'll jump to my next question here. So another element about the book that I really really love is how you approach action and battle scenes. I just love the way that they're written, and it's funny because literally earlier I was working on the next chapter of one of my series on Substack here, my fantasy series, and I literally was writing a battle scene and I stopped and I was like, you know what? I'm going to read some more Shield Breaker because, like, I was like, like I feel like battle scenes are one of those things that I could definitely stand to be better at, and yours are just amazing, and that's a bona fide fact. I mean, it's a really really well written aspect of the book. So my question for you here is, the scenes themselves, they have really nice choreography, good description, they're paced well, they have a really good rhythm. And if I'm not mistaken, you have a background in music as well. So I'm
Yeah.
curious, is there a connection there when you approach battle scenes, like where you consider something like the rhythm or what's your process there? Because again, they're so good.
I think music probably is an undercurrent for everything that I write. There
Yeah.
is rhythm to it. I think when you hear me read it out loud, you can kind of I've had that note before is hearing me read it out loud, you kind of get the cadence a little bit more, the
Yeah.
way aims work. For the battle scenes specifically, that is just a byproduct of me being an absolute goddamn lunatic about military history.
Right.
Uh, between, you know, even without a specific amount of, uh, without the technology we're working on here, I think, there's always been some sense. I played a lot of Medieval 2 Total War on the
Okay.
PC when I
Yeah.
was a kid,
Yeah.
um, and a younger adult, and a slightly more weathered adult.
Right.
Um, And that definitely helped. Honestly, like between simulations and between reading, uh, even just World War II histories where they got into the strategy of, okay, like thinking about it from a larger scale perspective where you have to take this town to cut off roads to do this. Like, okay, fine. I can put that on a smaller scale easily enough. And I suppose now in a scenario where I've got to like have a larger army chasing a smaller army around a lot, which is going to happen reasonably soon in the series. Um, I think the most important trick is to make it personal.
Hmm.
I think that's where the shift of POV helps me so much is that um, if you can make it personal, where you can take it from the front to like seeing something happen from slightly above, or having the warlord down below, looking up at the battlefield, looking up at this mountain that his men are trying to take and having a very, very hard time with. Uh, I think being able to just have some sense of how a shield wall versus shield wall confrontation would work, and then just trying to draw it out enough. I don't feel like I'm answering this question quite as well as you'd want. I don't think the rhythm of the battle scenes comes from music. I think it's just about making sure I knew there were several beats I needed to hit.
Okay.
It is like remember I said before where these things are outlined to within, an emotional reaction. Like every single piece of this goes in before I write it. So it's really about planning it out ahead of time and then just making sure the clock makes sense.
Okay. Right.
You know,
Right. Right.
that and another, and I will say it may be cheating. There's no map here for a reason. I do not need anybody counting steps and trying to do the math on exactly how fast a guy would have to run 100 feet in order to make this particular strategic thing work.
Okay.
Someone can do that later.
Mm-hmm.
Someone
Mm-hmm.
can do that. If this ever actually hits and somebody on Reddit wants to like spend 8 years of their life picking apart the cadence of whether this battle would make chronological sense,
Yeah.
and they want to yell at me about it, I will be the happiest man in the world.
Yeah.
There to take that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, uh, but yeah, that's really, I guess that's it. It's just plan, plan, plan,
Okay.
research to within an inch of your fucking life,
Right.
and you know, and don't try anything crazy unless you have some analogy where it worked in real life.
Right, right, right. No, that makes sense. Yeah, yeah. I think that's a really good answer because yeah, I think for me, and I'm curious if anybody in the chat agrees with this, but when it comes to writing like battle scenes, I struggle with obviously they're supposed to feel grand, especially if it's a big battle. But it's like what do I need to focus on? You brought up a really good point about like that, like I think you said like the clock or like that like the timing of everything makes sense. Obviously, planning it out I think is really good advice too. It's just I feel like my brain will kind of misfire trying to like parse, all the chaos. It's like, well, what does the reader need to know? And when and how should I describe that? And just the way that you approach it, I feel like is very polished. And
The
I'm,
best battle I've ever read
yeah.
is the big one at the end of the Witcher saga.
Okay. All
I
right.
don't remember what it's called off the top of my head, which because
Yeah.
I have a toddler and my brain is elsewhere all the time. But
Right.
that's the one. It's at the end of the Lady of the Lake. It is 14 chapters long, and it is peppered with things like, and Tamsin's asking about how do you get the key to an emotional reaction. It's because we're all people.
Mhm.
So to that point, the most important piece of this whole battle chapter, series of chapters, this massive chunk of the book,
Yeah.
is from the medical tent behind the scenes,
Hmm.
and these 3 or 4 people watching a steady stream turn into a flood, turn into a fucking tsunami of dead, dying, wounded soldiers screaming in agony, most of them.
Yeah.
And how do you live, whether you're in the front and barely surviving it or not surviving it, or whether you're back there at the end, uh, trying to piece people together?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, it is hell. I
Hmm.
think the thing that, yeah, battle scenes are supposed to feel grand, but I don't think we ever want to, at least for me, I don't ever want them to feel triumphant or heroic. I
Mm-hmm.
want it to hurt. I
Yeah.
want to feel like a fucking nightmare.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, because I feel like that makes it honest, and I feel like we get our real selves when we're the most scared we're ever going to be in our entire life.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, 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 yeah. I think you hit the nail on the head there. And I think that answers Tamsin's question perfectly because it is, like you said, it's thinking about the people who are in this battle, who are going through this. None of them are thinking about how they're going to be heroes. They're thinking about how do I get through this in one
Yeah.
piece. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And so I
Or
really
if
like how
they're
you
at,
called that out.
how do we die well and gloriously and
Right, right.
save
Yeah.
billions, but the idea is the same. Yeah. Like,
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's a fantastic answer. So yeah, my next question here. Now that you have book 2 out, I'm curious, like, what's next for the Shieldbreaker saga? Like, are you already, into drafting book 3, or are you gonna maybe switch to the Daughters of A? I remember you mentioned is not in print yet. I'm curious, like, what's your next step now that book 2 is out?
I am trying to figure that out.
Okay.
Very I've got a decently detailed outline of book 3 that I need to add to.
Mhm.
Not quite full enough yet, and I still feel like there's stuff. It feels thin, and so I want to make sure that I have um, enough going on that it actually gets to the rest of the story. Um, I also do want. There's a couple of spin-off prequels that I want to write.
Mm,
Uh,
mhm.
one, uh, one I've been promising to get to for now about a year and a half. I want to write Uskul and Uskul.
Mm, mhm.
And the basic concept that I've got for that is, imagine if Superbad was taking place at a Viking festival instead of
Okay.
a house party.
Okay. I am intrigued. That sounds really good.
It's gonna be messy, and there's other political shit going on under, like, behind the scenes of it. But that's the basic concept: is those boys are gonna keep getting into trouble and keep doing dumb shit, and maybe they just maybe bring down the Atella accidentally, as a result. But who's to say? Um, there's another, obviously, I want to just delve into some of the backstories of some of the surviving captains a little bit better,
Mhm.
because we know if you have read Daughters of Vey, you know a little bit more about some of the supporting cast and what they have been through over the course of the last 6 years before the main action starts. And they have other little things going on, little, small scale feuds within the tribe that I kind of want to explore a little deeper. Uh, just because I feel like that would be a fun way to just explore how they interact with the world allows me to show more of the world without it being like, and then this emperor did this thing
Mm.
and passed this law. I'm not going to write House. I'm not going to ever write anything even remotely close to Fire and Blood or
Mhm.
Silmarillion about. Then it's just not, that's not my jam.
Sure, sure.
Not what I want.
Yeah.
Uh, but I would love to have the opportunity to explore some of these other smaller role characters that I care about very much. And I want, when they have to do what they're about to have to do in certain cases over the course of the next couple of books, I want that to be fleshed out enough that their motivations are believable, that it's, on a large scale, it's easy to do. Everything's collapsing, everything's going to hell. Survive,
Mhm.
fight, survive, strategize, figure out a way to make it through. But now on a smaller scale, within, like you said, there's these small there's the balance of power stuff. There's the behind the scenes struggles that need a little bit more exploring. And it's not enough to just be like, it's just business. It's not personal. No, some of this shit is personal. It should be
Yeah,
personal. So like, just,
yeah.
I wanna give Mikal and Geortz a little bit more time. I want to give Aravan Limava, my resident. His nickname, literally translates to "pretty boy" because he is the
Mm.
biggest hoe bag in the entire Hodrir millet. And
Love that.
I want to have a little bit of fun with that.
Right. Yeah.
There's like little things like that I was able to just hint at here or there over the course of those two books. I'm never going to write these. I don't want these to be 800 pages apiece. I
Yeah.
want it to be tight. I want us to get down to business, but there's no reason I can't just have these little spin-offs are really fun to write. And if I can find the time to do them.
Mm.
Exactly, Hurricane. If you party like that,
If you
yeah,
party like that.
Limava parties like that.
Sounds like it.
Mhm.
Good stuff, good stuff. So, yeah, all right, well, then, yeah, like, as you've said, as we've discussed, the series, the world, there's a lot more stories to tell here. There's a lot more books on the
Exactly.
series. There's a lot of prequel side stories, stuff like that. As someone like myself who, I kinda do this to a fault, but I have a few different, connected universes and series and, I have a novel
Mm.
I'm working on. I'm curious, like, for you specifically, like looking into the long term, do you see yourself kind of just being headquartered in this world, the Shieldbreaker saga, with all the work that you do, or do you have other ideas that you're thinking about mixing in at some point? I'm just curious about that.
My goal is to write this one really, really good story and then
Okay.
never do this ever.
Right. Okay.
um, the brilliant and talented and infuriatingly young JLG Noga uh,
Yes, yes.
is on tap to produce at some point a prequel spinoff based on the life of one of the holy men that barely gets mentioned in book two.
Okay.
Basically, going to write within the Shieldbreaker universe a an epic an epic biography that will turn into like a religious text about one of the Eastern Empire's greatest heroes who
Interesting.
turns into a messenger of peace. And my goal is for it to eventually come out that book and the reality of it don't really connect entirely perfectly, as you'd imagine. And that'll be a fun way because there's nothing more fun for me in the world than to poke at and pick apart and just generally light on fire the very concept of organized religion. It's one
Mm,
of my favorite straw men, frankly. So that's one I'm looking forward to light on fire after Noga gets
Yeah.
the holy book done. But yeah, I don't intend to be out of this this is the one idea I've ever had that feels different enough from anything else that I had read,
Mm,
that I wanted to do something new and interesting. And I wanted to, as long as it stays new and interesting to me, and as long as it stays new and interesting to the people who are reading it,
yeah.
I'm happy. And I don't feel like I would need, if I got this across the finish line in a way that I was satisfied with, I would not feel the need to think to myself, okay, what am I going to do for an encore?
Mhm.
I
Right.
did I did mention how many books I'm planning for this,
You did, yes.
so I'm good after that.
Right.
This will be more than enough. You will
Yeah.
None of you will ever want to hear from me ever again. I'm done with book number, 27 or whatever bullshit I wound up pulling together.
Right, right. Okay. Yeah, no, that I love that, I really love that, yeah, the Shield Breaker is like your magnum opus,
This
like,
is
this is
my
your
thing.
thing.
This is the
Yeah,
thing I'm gonna do.
yeah,
Do it as well as I possibly can, and then I will be very, very happy you know, with that as, you know, if anyone if anyone winds up paying enough attention to this on a larger scale,
mm,
again, don't care if it is, but I want, if this is a thing that I was to be even remotely known for, I'll be very happy with that.
sure, yeah, no,
But I
I
don't
yeah,
to
yeah,
do I don't think I would need to go beyond that and try to come up with, what am I gonna do? I mean, they're doing all the dragons are already having sex. Um, the werewolves and the fae and the vampires and all not writing those.
right,
And every detective story has ever been written already, I'm pretty sure.
yeah,
And, like, I'm not gonna do any auto fiction for damn sure. I think this is the thing I'm doing.
yeah,
Um, and it hits enough of the things that I am interested in that I wouldn't feel the need to, I wouldn't want to force it.
yeah,
If
that makes
if
sense.
by accident something else struck my interest and I was like, okay, I can write this. Like, that's one thing, but I'm not gonna force it.
Yeah,
I want this. I want this to be good, and I want this to be, you know, I want this to be complete.
yeah,
And beyond
yeah,
that,
and then yeah. Yeah. That focus and that drive that you have for this world and for this series, I mean, it's so inspiring. Like I said, I'm someone who really I get stuck on tangents going off and writing standalone short stories and starting all these projects, whatever. I love that you have this drive for Shield Breaker and for this world. I mean, it's awesome. It's really, really cool to see.
it's
I admire
beautiful.
that.
It's really honestly like I never in a million years thought I'd be even here,
Yeah.
and I never in a million years thought it would be any good in that first attempt. I put it in a drawer for a decade for a reason, and the fact that it is back means means I gotta pay attention to it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, let me go ahead and work in another question from the chat here. Tamsin is back with another amazing question. Seriously, one of the VIPs watching the
Yeah,
stream
for
here.
sure. Yeah.
Uh, so Tamsin, of course, is known for her cozy fantasy. So her question here makes a lot of sense. She asks, "Would you ever do a cozy prequel or sequel in this world?"
Well, that depends on how you define the parameters.
Sure.
I did manage. I think the closest thing to a cozy short story that I've written for this, uh, when Garen Marie Glacier did her Small and Scary, Big and Beastly uh, event
Hmm.
last summer,
Hmm.
I threw down a short story for that called Between Us. And I suppose it might fit the parameters because the entirety of the action does take place within one night of a guy uh, on guard at the Chieftain's Hall.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to say anything more than that
Okay.
because I don't want to ruin it, but I wonder, Tamsin, if that would qualify. And, if not, then I guess the answer is we'll see. Uh,
Right.
it does that count? And if it counts, yes. And if not, then I guess I would have to know the rules before I can answer the
Sure.
question.
Sure. Yeah. Right. 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 Tamsin says that sounds so fun. So
Okay,
yeah.
yeah. You should definitely look that one up. I'm rather proud of that one. That one came out of one, you know, sat down for one writing session and kind of just ran it in one draft, and it turned out very, very nicely. So, and Garen's one of my all-time favorites on here, so it's really great to be able uh, to participate in one of her events. So, you know,
Okay.
good
All
time.
right. And what was the title of that one again? One more time for the benefit of
That's called
listeners.
Between Us.
Between Us. Okay, cool. I need to check that one out too. I'm curious. I like the premise a lot. It's interesting. All right, cool, awesome. Yeah, that actually brings up another question too that I wanted to ask because you obviously mentioned this other book, from a different author that will be set, and it sounds like it's canon to the universe, like it'll be an official part of the universe. So I'm curious, like, because this is something I do with one of my connected universes. Do you plan, like, long term? Do you plan to have any other authors, or do you think about that idea as something you may want to do, where other authors can write like sanctioned stories in this universe? Is that something you're interested in?
I want to see how this first one goes. I
Yeah,
love Noga. I adore his work. He's
yeah,
brilliant. And if somebody of that level wants to participate in this thing, it will be hard for me to say no to.
sure, yeah.
But again, I I want to keep an open mind about it.
Yeah, okay.
But let me see how this first one goes. I'm not trying to open it up to, I don't want to open it up to anybody. It would be nice to work with more friends.
Yeah.
Uh, I am running a little bit tight on time here.
Okay.
How many more you got?
Let's see. I have 3 more questions total, but I can get it down to 2, no problem.
Okay.
Okay. So yeah, I'll jump to the second to last one here. Yeah, so yeah, I mean, you kind of covered this already, so it might be a short answer, but I wanted to ask, like, 2 books into this series here, and obviously, 2 years on Substack, like you said. What are some of the ways that you have kind of improved or grown as an author while working on this project? And maybe, again, from the influence of other writers on Substack, like how have
I,
you yourself improved?
I think it was mostly just uh, seeing more examples of honestly just rule breaking.
Okay.
Uh, really good stream of consciousness, which I've always loved and have always been a little bit shy about. Uh, but again, that takes a little bit of There's a little bit of that in book two because I was pushed to do it and it felt good when I saw what came out of it. Um, I've always felt good about my dialogue.
Hmm.
Just, just I don't know. I think the things that are stretching me are just more technical things. I
Sure.
think I know how to edit myself a little better now than I did the first time.
Mm-hmm.
And whether that's because of Substack or whether that's because now I'm on 2 books and 2.5 really books in, as opposed to 2 plus a novella, as opposed to brand new. Whether that's because of just the experience, whether it's specifically the experience of being here, open question. But uh, all I know is I feel like I know more about what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
That's making me set my sights higher.
Got it. Got it. Yeah, no, that makes sense. That makes sense. Yeah. And yeah, so for my last question here before we wrap up, I wanted to give you an opportunity to jump back over to what we discussed at the beginning of the interview with the fiction is culture
Uh,
and
uh,
ReaderCon 2026. Yeah, if you would.
Boston,
Yeah.
Boston, July 9th to 12th.
Hmm.
Fiction is Culture would like to give an open call. Anybody who wants, any of our novelists here who want to offer us free promotional material to put on the Substack tables that we have put together with the help of the incomparable and frankly spearheaded by the incomparable Insani Darpecchio,
Mm.
aka Zanny Darp, uh, my my sister from another mister and from another mother. Uh, great people, brilliant writer in her own right,
Mm.
and uh, knows the convention circuit better than I did or any of our other friends seem to have. So we're going to Boston. I will be there. A few of our other buddies will be there. Anybody who's around that weekend, come hang out. Come say hi. Uh, it's about the readers of speculative and interesting fiction.
Mm.
It feels like it's going to be a weekend that we all will want to be here. And I'm very excited to see a few of my friends from this platform in person.
Yeah.
A couple I've already met before, a couple I'm very, very excited to see in person for the first time. It's going to be really cool. And again, anybody who wants to promote something, uh, obviously our esteemed colleagues Dylan Bosworth and Jay Curtis have signed up their publishing houses as sponsors for specific artists that they like and that they want to sponsor, as well as obviously their roster.
Mm,
But beyond that, we have room for a lot of people.
okay.
We have room for a lot of things. If you've got a bookmark, if you've got even a business card with a QR code, if you've got something cool that you want to share with the world and you think it will help you get more exposure, reach out and let's figure out if we can help you get into it.
Okay. No,
All
that's
right?
amazing. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
amazing.
it's gonna be so
Uh,
much fun.
yeah, I'll include a link. I know a post came out recently about all this. So I'll include a
Yeah,
link to that
please.
with this
Yeah.
recording with of course the podcast this weekend when that comes out. But yeah, so how should people get in touch if they are interested? Should they just DM you or is there like a
There is a
special
Google form right
Okay.
there.
On the post there's a Google form. Got it. Got it.
Sure.
Got it. Got it. Okay. Well, Tom, thank you so much again for coming
Thank
on
you.
here.
Thank you all. Thank you, Tamsin.
Yeah, Tamsin, definitely
MVP.
the VIP.
Um, Tamsin ran the show.
Yeah,
You, Hallie. Thank you, Hurricane. Thank
so
you.
many good
Thank
questions.
you
Yeah.
for those of you who I've never met. Thank you, Sarah. That was a good question too. Thank you all. You
Mm.
guys are awesome. Thanks for hanging out with us tonight.
Yeah, this was fantastic. Thank you again, everybody. Thank you, Tom.
Yeah, thank
Best
you,
of
Brad.
luck. Yeah, well, thank of course, of course. I love
Yeah.
doing
I'm
this.
going
I
to show
love
this
this.
one more time.
Yep, book
The
2.
links will be up there. Uh, buy copies. I will love you forever. And if I do sell 150 copies of this, I will go on a live and play the most ridiculous song I've ever written in my entire life. It
Well,
is
there you go.
Flintstones Fiddler on the Roof mashup.
Wow. Okay.
130 copies to go at last count.
130 copies. All right, we can do that.
Somebody make music really silly, please.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Okay, we have a goal. I love it.
All right. Good night, everybody.
Thanks, Tom.
Thanks so much.